LLC. And because I wear all those titles, it occurs to me that for tonight, I was really trying to figure out the best way to use the time. I wanted to kind of give you a piece of both sides of that, being the author looking at the art side of it and being the publisher looking at the business side of it. In the sense of the art side of it, I wanted to do a reading from the book that is currently available, Love Changes. The thing to know about this story is that it's 4 different short stories that look at the previous 2 books that I published from the different perspectives of different characters. So it's designed in a way that even if you didn't pick up the first book, you kind of get in the ground level of what the story is. But there are footnotes and things all over the place that lead you to the other books if you choose to get those as well. But for this reading, we're going to do chapter 1 from Saran's tale. He's the central character of the entire series. Buyer's Remorse. I have been staring at the title for weeks now. I so desperately need to write. I need to get this off of me, out of me, but the words just won't come. At least not in an artsy way, in a productive manner, in a poetic style that others would not only want to read, but also want to buy. I did what I had to do. I know it was what my heart needed. It was me and my dreams or him, and I had given him enough. I had given him everything I knew how to give, and it left me empty. Love brought me to this fucked up place, this lonely place, a near fatal, depressing place, a murderous, jealous place. After losing the love that was supposed to be forever, the relationship that was supposed to make and keep me safe and bear me up, in the end it all broke me all down. I willingly offered it, and he freely took it all. It burns my ass that there is ultimately no one else to blame for years of enabling, turning a blind eye, giving with unrealistic, unrealized returns. Of course, many would say, hell, even he has said, I left him, so why are you hurt? All I can say is if you never had to end a relationship that was everything to you, that defines you, you'll never understand. You'll never know the pain of ripping out your own heart in an effort to preserve your life. How empty it leaves you, the challenge of living with a gaping hole inside of you, an abyss which nothing else feels. Saran considered trashing the free verse just as a Facebook alert caught his eye. Jasmine. Holy shit, Snacks, he's stealing my husband. Jasmine was one of Saran's oldest girlfriends. Her post was made in the Facebook event, Something Borrowed, Something Blue. Ugh. Saran groaned deep within himself. Now, on top of everything else, he was left with the responsibility of informing everyone that his engagement to Rodney was called off. Visions of the Promontory Point Chapel sitting like a castle off of Lake Michigan back home in Chicago began to fill his head. A watery present-day precipitation followed. Saran bowed his head to the weight of the grief in hopes that gravity would draw out the tears he had been trying to cry since the night he left Rodney and his engagement ring at the dining room table. No luck. He was no good idol those days, so in an attempt to be active and move forward, he clicked on Rich's name and brought up the host's Facebook profile. He clicked the messenger button. Saran, please cancel the bachelor party. The wedding is off, and in all caps, I don't want to talk about it right now. As one of his oldest friends, Saran knew Rich too well enough to know that the questions would come anyway, concerned for Saran temporarily overruling his wishes. So Saran closed down the messenger screen and quickly searched through his privacy settings for the deactivate option. He needed a break from the multitude of voices and opinions, just long enough to sort out his thoughts and emotions. Social media and the like would be there when the dust settled. Saran would have never guessed that shutting down his Facebook account, even temporarily, was more involved in some people's divorce proceedings. He got frustrated and decided it was easier to just log off on all devices and exercise some self-control, but he could already feel that itchy withdrawal. That moment of frustration, coupled with a side of ADHD, drew Saran's attention one Chrome window over to his Gmail. The indicator informed him there were new emails. To Saran, from Mom, subject, replying, Rodney and I have separated. I'm so sorry to hear that. I understand if you aren't ready to talk right now, but I would love to hear your voice when you're up to it. I just want to know that you're okay. Maybe you should come home for a while. Just a thought. Love, Mom. Saran was never good at reaching out for help or showing his weakness. But aside from God, his mom was the only one to whom he could bear to turn. She wouldn't judge or press him for answers he didn't have. They were so much alike, she and he. It was from her that Saran inherited an instinct for survival determined as crisis mode. shut down all emotions, create and execute a plan of action to resolve the immediate issues, and cry about it all later. In the weeks and months that followed, Saran would wrestle with the demons of the past, the memories, the doubts, the confusion of moving forward in a very counterproductive, depressing solitude of his own making. Repeatedly, emotionally, limiting to the solace he found in the sister of his heart, Cherie. I think it's time for you to focus more on your own shit, she continually advised. I'm not telling you to be the asshole we both know you're fully capable of being, but just leave him alone and get out of that house right now. As Saran's downcast demeanor, she continued, I know you're disappointed with how things are going with your writing and all of that, but if this is just about money, you know I got you. You just need to get away from all of it for a season to heal, process, and plan your next moves. It would be months more before Saran was emotionally and financially able to get on that plan. The process of slowly letting go of the life he had so earnestly built with writing was agonizingly painful, but somewhere deep down, he knew that ripping the bandage off would quickly kill him. No amount of time would produce the clean break he wanted. He knew that the process wouldn't return either of them to their previously individually whole states, free and clear of the remaining jagged pieces each had deposited in the other. So he slowly and carefully began divorcing himself of the shared possessions and their mutually unfulfilled promises, praying, crying, and cursing all the way along. He hurt all over from his soul outwards. Desperate to feel anything different than the numbing, crushing weight of it all, he picked up several self-destructive habits: chain smoking, copious amounts of that green thing, drinking binges, even revisiting countless former temptations in the form of men who repeatedly turned up in his DMs and various social media inboxes. Men who seemed to only want him when he was clearly taken and now couldn't be bothered. His already swelled frame was wasting away, a physical deficit his body couldn't afford, but aside from vain attempts to disguise it from his family and closest friends, he couldn't find the energy to care. He finally returned to a twice-made, dark and desperate mindset. 12 light blue fatal mistakes in the form of sleeping pills. He knew it would hurt those that loved him, but his cloudy vision couldn't see beyond his own private pain. The faith he had mistakenly placed in himself alone had run its course, so he lay there waiting for the end. This wasn't some cry for help because he made sure there would be no earthly intervention this time. No baby sisters to happen upon him violently vomiting in the bathroom. No lover to find him sleepwalking in delirium. He was done, he had given up, he wanted out. Resigned to his poorly handpicked fate, he laid there stripped of all he was, all of his titles. The chosen gold and dutiful #1 son, the lover, the writer, the dreamer, the ace phi beta blue sigma, smooth criminal, Christ redeemed. He felt stripped of it all. He waited. That was when the guy he had cried out to, shouted to, and cursed at outside under the moon so many lonely below zero nights finally spoke, not from above on some distant heavy throne, but from deep inside. I'm not stopping you this time. This time it's all on you, kid. I've stripped you bare of what you have left. Who are you? Who do you want to be? I've already named you more than a conqueror. What else do you need? Do you want to be my shame, or do you want to be my glory? Before Saran knew anything, he sprinted to the porcelain god with a lowercase g and retched, and repented again. Nothing externally had changed, but the divine within finally began to slowly rise again. Still emotionally drained and physically weak, he resented his prior self-defeating resignation and resolved to wait. But this time, instead of lamenting because of how broken he was, or the confusion of it all, Saran focused on 4 immutable, life-sustaining truths. God was still good. He still did all things well. His word shall perform. His promises remain more sure than the sun's daily ascent in the east. In 3 short months, he found himself writing and making a number of moves while dreaming of a comeback to rival Jackie Washington's return to the spotlight. Finally, his flight was booked. His new course laid out, and his bags were packed to capacity, but only with the essentials. Looking around with nothing else to do in preparation for tomorrow's cab ride to McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, and an uncertain but promising future, he logged back into Facebook, taking himself back into the outside world. While wading through hundreds of unseen notifications, he received an entreaty from the distant past in the form of his first love, Calvin. Surprisingly, their conversation was easy despite their troublesome history. They were open and honest about the past and found a mutual understanding. In the end, they made tentative plans to hang out during Saran's Chicago-style homecoming. A few mornings later, Rodney, his still living ex, insisted on taking Saran to the airport. It was thankfully a short and mostly quiet ride until "Thanks for a safe flight," the young male attendant said in response to Rodney's tip. He had jumped out of the truck and taken Saran's bags into the airport. Rodney turned back to Saran. The hug was awkward, but long enough for Saran to hear Rodney speaking low into his ear. "I'll see you when you get back home." Rodney's certainty that Saran would come back to him cut through all of the confusion and settled deep within Saran. Saran sincerely didn't know the where and how, but the mutual tension seemed to release. "I promise to call you when I land this time." It was all routine, but it was something they still shared. "I know how to find you if you don't," Rodney replied with a sly smile, moving back to his truck. "Have a safe flight." "Thanks again," Saran said as he watched him climb in. "He's no shining knight," Saran thought to himself. "Hell, neither am I." The two of them had really fucked up a lot, and there would be a lot to work through. But in a sense, Saran still saw him as a hero, and every hero has their flaws. Everything would change, some things would be lost, some gained. Even the love would change. As Saran moved to enter the airport, he considered that last thought. He probably knew better than most that love doesn't really die, it just changes. His cell phone vibrated. "Need a ride from O'Hare?" "Calvin." The text message stopped Saran in his tracks. "Beep, beep." The horn turned his attention back to Rodney, waiting patiently at the curbside to enter the airport. Shit. Love Change is available now at www.NaNoWriMo. So, like I said, I wanted to, share the art, and that will be available now tonight for the 20th. And actually, I believe everything, pretty much in some of these two, but I'll explain a little bit in more detail. So, all of this, for me,